Media recognition from Bloomberg, Reuters, recycling trade publications. Patented process for 100% recovery of critical metals, including cobalt, lithium, nickel, manganese, aluminum. American Manganese is focused on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. American Manganese trades on the TSX Venture, AMY, the US, AMYZF, and Frankfurt 2AM. For more information, visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
Welcome to the Goddard Report. Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Jordan Bateman, Vice President of Communications and Marketing for the Independent Contractors and Business Association in BC. His website, icba.ca. Welcome back to the show, Jordan.
Thanks for having me, Jim.
Jordan, one of the big issues that's come up in the BC legislature is the EI deadline cutoff. Can you maybe explain how that works for the people who have temporarily lost their jobs and the employers who eventually would like to have them come back? Can you maybe play this out for us?
Yeah, this has dominated question period in British Columbia for the first 2 days of the sitting. I suspect we'll be back again today as the Premier continues to be obstinate in his stand on this. So what happened, Jim, was if you cast your mind back to early March, it became clear that most businesses were going to shut down due to the COVID pandemic. Funnily enough, our offices at Metrotown, signs started going up saying, we'll be closed March 13th to March 27th. Look forward to serving you when we reopen March 27th. Now, that pandemic, 2 weeks of closures quickly became 3 and then 4 and then 10 and then 12. Small businesses especially were rocked by this, and many of these businesses had to lay off employees. So, think of the swell of millions of people who've had to go on EI or on the CERB, the CERB. All of those, or many of those people were because of layoffs, because businesses simply had no revenue coming in, because many of them weren't even allowed to open. So at the time, in BC's employment standards, there's this rule that says if you lay off an employee, after 13 weeks of being laid off, you must terminate them and pay them out as severance. And it's, to make sure you don't kind of hold people in kind of these zombie jobs. You would need to have some sort of endpoint in order to let them move on with their lives. When COVID hit, the BC government extended that from 13 weeks to 16 weeks, recognizing, that it was going to be a while for the economic recovery. Here's the problem. We're coming to the 16 weeks for a lot of these employees who were laid off in March or early April. And the government, the BC government, refuses to further extend this. And so what you're having is, some companies, many companies have come back, but at a very reduced rate. Think of a restaurant and, what percentage of staff have they brought back? Probably very low, considering they can only seat 50% of the guests that they used to seat. Some companies haven't reopened at all. An events company, for example, hotels haven't been allowed to reopen, nightclubs, so their employees are laid off. And now these business owners are coming to the point where they either have to terminate their employees and pay them severance, or bring them back into the hours that they used to get. The problem is businesses can't afford it. Many of them can't. They can't afford to sever. They can't afford to bring them back, and so they're stuck in this kind of gray abyss, really. And so a number of business associations, including ICBA, which I work for, started lobbying the provincial government, saying, listen, you've got to extend this. Other provinces have extended it. The federal government extended it for federally regulated employees to the end of the year. But BC refuses to do so. And now you're hitting the point where some of these companies, have a terrible decision. Like they either have to go bankrupt, and all those jobs disappear, or they have to pay out severances they can't afford. They can't afford to bring the employees back. They can't afford to pay out the severances. So they're really in a tough bind. And, especially the small business associations like the CFIB are saying, listen, we're going to lose, tens of thousands of jobs and likely thousands of employers.
Why is the government doing this when others have seen, obviously, you have to make the transition back to a normal economy as smooth and as painless for everybody?
Well, I have my theories why they're doing it. The first one is British Columbia is the only province in Canada with an NDP government. The NDP, of course, very close relations with big labor. They receive millions in donations from unions. They receive a number of volunteer hours. Many of their MLAs grew up and were trained in unions. They are very much the unions party. The problem with that is the unions have never bothered to employ anyone, have no idea of the real depth of despair being felt by small business owners, the NDP have an ideology of distrust of employers, think all employers are just out to screw their employees, when in fact, most of these employers desperately want to keep these people because they've built these teams over a series of years. These are they're family to them. But the NDP don't see that. So the NDP being that kind of, basically controlled by the unions, it's very clear that big labor, does not want to see this extended.
How would you get severance out of a bankrupt company?
Yeah, great question. And this is, it's the lack of logic in this is probably what's most frustrating. What will happen? We're not really sure. I mean, you can't afford to bring them back because you don't have any revenue, you don't have any sales, or you're greatly reduced. You can't afford to, let them go and pay them out. So I guess, the thing you have to do is you go bankrupt and then you receive some protection from your creditors, and those creditors would include those employees. The other wrinkle to this is employees, the way the NDP talk, you'd think termination and severance payments were like the golden ticket and you're on your way and you were set for a long time. Severance packages get taxed at, the similar rate to income. So, a friend of mine was recently terminated from a company that simply was not going to be able to recover enough business for at least 2 years to keep her. And, her final check included her salary and her severance and, vacation pay and benefits in lieu, or cash in lieu of benefits. And, it was a gross check of almost $40,000. Well, the NDP was, $40,000, woof, that person's rich, 1% on their way. The problem was it was taxed at 50%. She actually walked out the door with just over $20,000. So, this supposed cushion that's supposed to help her as she, enters the most competitive job market in generations, is half gone just to taxes. So, termination is no golden ticket for employees. Our sense is most employees would love to come back to work. Understand, the ones who are still, laid off understand that, their business owners are trying everything they can to rebuild revenue and rebuild their businesses so they can bring them back. But, the NDP seem deaf to this.
President Trump has banned immigrant workers from going to the U.S. Could this be a boon for BC who might need talented, high-tech people? Oh, for sure. And it should be a major principle. We should be going out and trying to get this talent. I was reading an interview with the CEO of Shopify, a Canadian company, and he was saying, listen, talent is like pouring gasoline on a fire. You get the best people possible, and it just causes your business to fly. We're in a global competition for talent, and if the United States wants to keep a big chunk of that talent out of their country, I think Canadians should be aggressively approaching them. And we should be doing with a focus on places where we're weak. We need to bring in more entrepreneurs, more people willing to take risks and start businesses, more people who can help us in the tech side. We should be looking at, leveraging these jobs into more jobs for Canadians. Let's find the people who have the vision and the expertise and can make something exciting happen for Canada and for our economy. We'll have more with Jordan Bateman right after this.
Bateman Resources Limited is a gold exploration company with significant projects in British Columbia and the Yukon, trading on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol ABN, and the OTCQB, symbol ABNAF. Surrounded by world-class gold deposits and mines, Bateman's 23,000 hectares Forest Kerr Gold Project is located in the heart of the Golden Triangle in northwestern BC. For more information, visit us at batemanresources.com. Engineer Gold Mines is focused on the exploration and development of the historic high-grade Engineer Gold Mine situated 32 kilometers southwest of Atlin, British Columbia. Engineer Gold Mines is fully permitted for surface and underground exploration with the drill program now underway. Engineer Gold Mines Limited trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol EAU. For more information, please visit us at engineergoldmines.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Jordan Bateman. Jordan, is BC giving small businesses, the ones that you represent, any kind of tax breaks to help them recover?
Well, there was a 25% cut to provincial or to property tax, so that helps those businesses that pay property tax, which is not all of them. Other than that, everything is a deferral. They've deferred PST payments, they've deferred employer health payments, they've deferred WorkSafe BC premiums. But the deferral cliff is rapidly coming. In fact, I think as soon as the end of this month, where these bills come due. And this is part of the frustration. The NDP stand up in the House and claim they've done all these great things for business. Business owners are like, wait, what? Like, none of that is actually relief long term. It's all just kind of kicking the can down the road. And I think that's why the business associations, some of whom, or many of whom have worked very hard with the provincial government to partner during the pandemic and find ways to keep the economy afloat. I think that's why they feel so betrayed and upset by this lack of interest in the EI termination issue.
BC Transit is handing out masks for passengers. BC Ferries won't let you on board unless you have a mask, but they won't sell you one. What's going on there? Is there kind of a disconnect?
Yeah, I think it's hard, right? Like, so, businesses should be able to set some of their rules, and if they feel like masking up is an important part of keeping their staff safe, they should be absolutely able to require that. But, my advice to them as a customer service person and as someone who's, kind of out and about and seeing how a lot of different places are handling this would be, if you're going to require masks, you have to actually provide them for people who may not know or may not have a mask handy. And I know that's expensive and pricey, but, you're just going to have to factor that in. So, BC Ferries, if you require masks, that's a little bit interesting to me. I thought people were still supposed to stay in their cars down below. I'm not sure if you have to wear a mask in your own car. I haven't taken the ferry during the pandemic, so I'm not sure how that's going or if masks are only needed upstairs. But, if you're going to require them, you should have them on hand. The TransLink masks are a little bit different. Like, they're not, the paper temporary masks, one-off PPE. They are like fabric masks with their logo. I believe they were planning to try and sell them, but now they're, giving them away for free. That's a little bit, I see as a little bit different, a little bit pricier. Although, me, I'm no great defender of TransLink, but they're in a tough spot. Like, public transit is a place where we've read lots of media stories from other places around the world of, vectors and super spreaders. And sometimes on public transit, there's a whole study done in New York City that actually highlights how, COVID cases were clustered around subway stations. And that somehow the subway was helping to spread it when people were riding it. And so I think there's a reluctance for people to come back. Our office here in Metrotown overlooks Metrotown SkyTrain Station. I can tell you, Jim, the eye test for me is, these trains are still, they're not full even at rush hour. And so TransLink has to get those customers back somehow, or they are going to be in even more trouble financially. So, looking at these masks as, a promotional tool, I can understand why they're trying it.
We'll have more with Jordan Bateman right after this.
Cyprus Development Corp is developing a world-class lithium resource in the heart of Clayton Valley, Nevada. The size of the resource makes the Clayton Valley project a premier asset with the potential to impact the future of lithium supply. Cyprus Development Corp trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol CYP, the OTCQB, symbol CYDVF, and on Frankfurt, symbol C1Z1. For more information, please visit our website, cyprusdevelopmentcorp.com.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Jordan Bateman. Jordan, Sunday on your Twitter, you posted that your 17-year-old daughter in Langley, BC, received 2 tickets to Trump's rally in Oklahoma by using a Tulsa zip code. What do you think this takeaway is for this experience? Or I can't speak English. I'm going to start all over. Coffee hasn't kicked in.
Fair enough.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Jordan Bateman. Jordan, on Sunday, you put out on your Twitter feed that your 17-year-old daughter in Langley, BC, received 2 tickets to Trump's rally in Oklahoma by using a Tulsa zip code. What do you think the takeaway from this experience should be for your daughter?
Well, there are a few things. First of all, it was Father's Day. Somehow the Trump rally came up. Maybe we saw a news flash or something. And just matter-of-factly, she kind of looked over and said, "Oh, yeah, I had 2 tickets for that." We're kind of mind-boggled, like, wait, what? And she's like, yeah, I saw it on TikTok and people were doing it. So, I put in for 2 tickets. So, I looked up a zip code in Tulsa and reserved seats. And I was astonished because, my daughter, very passionate believer of social justice. Like, it doesn't surprise me that she would be interested in the political process. But to actually, make a little bit of effort and to do this reinforced for me that, there was something going on with these TikTokers and young people trying to throw off this thing. Now, as an old school, politics is a blood sport, backroom campaigning guy, as I've worked on many campaigns in my life, I'm amazed by it and I kind of love it because, you often talk about, like, wouldn't it be great to send a hostile crowd over to, so-and-so's rally or so-and-so's event and, kind of, poach the media coverage, but no one is ever able to really muster it because it's just not the way Canadians are wired. But lo and behold, these TikTokers, these young people managed to do it. So, in kind of talking about it with my daughter afterwards, she was, I told her, look, you believe strongly in this. That's great. You should act on those beliefs. You didn't break any rules or any laws to do it. So it was a very peaceful and legitimate protest. We talked a little bit about, like, foreign interference. Like, do Canadians really have a right to speak into the American political process? Probably not, probably shouldn't, but at the same time, it is, we inherit so much media from the United States. It's impossible to ignore in Canada what's happening there. So, those were the kind of discussions we had. My daughter's always been politically active. She's the vice president of her student council. She's, president of the humanitarian club. So it doesn't surprise me that she would, put some feet to these beliefs.
Now, some people have said the voting age should be dropped to 16 if they're responsible enough to drive at that age. Why not pick the leaders of the country? Does this demonstrate how politically aware young people might be these days? Yeah, I think young people are politically aware. I think it's impossible to escape in any media now. I don't believe the voting age should be reduced. We actually don't let 16-year-olds drive. We, put them with a parent for months on end, and then, by the time they turn 17, maybe they can get their license, but even then they have to abide by strict rules. I do think that paying taxes is a key part of being, an informed voter. Like, you should have some skin in the game. Young people pay very little in tax. They do pay some sales tax, but, or their income, they don't pay a lot of income tax because generally they don't make enough money. So they don't have that kind of financial investment in government yet. But, anytime you encourage a young person to think about the world beyond themselves, it's a good thing to do. And, I'm just not quite ready to extend the vote to them. On the good news front, more construction is starting to happen in BC. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, the big pipelines are starting to crew up, which is great news. Could not come at a better time than post-pandemic. So there's the Trans Mountain pipeline that will transport bitumen from the Alberta oil sands all the way to Burnaby, BC. And then there's the Coastal GasLink pipeline, which is in northern British Columbia, will take natural gas from the Monterey fields in around Fort St. John area on the eastern side of BC, all the way across British Columbia to Kitimat, where the LNG Canada plant is being built. We're talking about billions of dollars worth of investment, thousands and thousands and thousands of construction jobs. And the exciting thing we're seeing is that it's coming at a time where communities desperately need this influx of cash and people. So Terrace, BC, for example, the plan for the Coastal GasLink workers there was to live in a work camp, kind of set off from the community, have everything they need in there, and then workers could fly in and out as necessary. That has changed. Terrace Council just voted on Monday night, looking at all of the empty hotel rooms in their community and the struggles of the hotel industry there. They're now going to ask that Coastal GasLink put as many of those workers as possible into their hotels, which will book up room nights, which will employ people, which will spin off money into the local economy. It's great to see communities like Terrace thinking smartly about this, trying to find ways to keep their businesses going.
And having spent some time in bunk beds in a construction camp and having slept in a nice hotel room, I'll take the hotel room any day.
Yeah, most people would. It also gives you a chance, right? These workers can go and eat at local restaurants. They're in the community a little bit more. It's a shift. Work camps. Work camps, very much the focus is work. You go, you work long days, and then you have a bit of rest and go back and work some more. But this will be good. We have to do something to help the tourist industry. It's great to talk about British Columbia and seeing BC, but a lot of British Columbians are out of work, can't afford to travel this year. Maybe they're a little bit leery because of COVID. So if you can put workers into these hotels, it's a great way to fill some room nights and a wonderful way to get some other people working in local communities.
One of the complaints I'm hearing from employers is that people who took the $2,000 a month CERB benefit, it's kind of redundant to say CERB benefit, but anyway, some of them don't want to come back because they'd actually make less money, or they're just looking at it as a paid summer vacation and they still don't want to come back for that reason.
Yeah, the evidence right now is still anecdotal on that, but it does seem to be a concern for some people. I think it works out to $15 an hour or so, the benefit. So for some people, you look at it and go, well, what's the point of getting an $18 an hour job or even a $20 an hour job if really I'm only $5 more ahead for working that? That is a major problem. It's actually one of the flaws in the discussion around universal basic income. What is the value proposition to go out and work if you get a big chunk of that already? But here's what I would say to these workers or these folks who are kind of thinking that way. At some point, the CERB's going to end. Trudeau can't spend this money forever. Canada can't afford it forever. At some point, the CERB will end. And it's like musical chairs. You should not still be dancing around when the music stops. Like, you got to have your butt on a seat. There are a limited number of jobs in the province of British Columbia. Construction is, a growing industry right now again. Like, there's jobs there. There's jobs in certain other industries. It is smart to go and get one of those jobs now and make sure you have your seat when the music stops, because you do not want to be out of work when the CERB ends and left holding the bag and have no job prospect and no income coming in.
I've always had the attitude, if somebody offers you a job, you take it, because you never know when the next one comes around.
Exactly. And, it may not be the perfect job. It may not be your forever job. But it's a job, and you start there. And look, employers, there is some study around the idea that employers always want what someone else has. So, you have someone who's working here and or working for a competitor, and you look at them and you go, not only can I take that person and add talent to my team, I can actually hurt my competing business. So, it's better to get in somewhere, apply for jobs when you have a job. It just makes more sense for people to do that. And again, the CERB will end someday. I'm not sure what the deadline is now that they've set out, but at some point that it will go away, and you're going to have to find work. Better to do it now before you're competing with literally hundreds of thousands of people.
And also the employers remember who accepted their offer and who rejected it and why they turned it down.
Yeah, well, great point there too. You have to, It will be interesting, right? Like, people come back to work. I'm in an office. We have our work crew is mainly back. There's a few who are still off due to specific health concerns during COVID. And, the conversation we've all had is like, what did you do during the pandemic? Like, what did you do during COVID? And, some people got healthier. Some people took up a hobby. Some people started cross-stitching. Some people binged a bunch of things. But, it is a legitimate question. And I think in a lot of interviews going forward, you'll see employers asking just mainly out of curiosity or to break the ice, like, what did you do during the pandemic? If you can say, I upgraded my skills, I decided to look for work, you have a definite advantage.
Jordan, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Thanks for having me.
My guest has been Jordan Bateman, Vice President of Communications and Marketing for the Independent Contractors and Business Association. His website, icba.ca. If you have any questions for Jordan or any of our other guests, you can send them to info@howstreet.com. Our YouTube channel is Talk Digital Network. Find us on Twitter at Talk Digital Net. We're also on Facebook. I'm Jim Goddard. Thank you for listening.
Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. The Goddard Report is available online and mobile at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. The Goddard Report is a production of Howe Street Media Incorporated.